majority of the questions involved some prior legal knowledge. So this year, there was not a single question which involved any prior legal knowledge. So 50 out of 50 went to legal reasoning. And there was a change here also. Unlike last year, most of the legal principles as well as facts given in most of the questions, they were very short. And in fact, in many of the questions, the legal principle was given in just one line. And in fact, legal principle and fact, both the things put together, did not have more than 2 sentences to read in most of the questions. So even within legal reasoning questions of CLAT 12, if I just look at legal reasoning questions of CLAT 12 and compare them with legal reasoning questions of CLAT 13, the level of difficulty of CLAT 13 questions was lower. One of the questions which has appeared on my screen is what would be the expected cutoff for general category for Lucknow. So keep one thing in mind. We in our rating here at LST put NLU Lucknow in tier 2. And for tier 2 institutes, we at LST believe that is going to be in the range of 130 to 134. At a net score of 130 to 134, you should be able to get your admit in NLU Lucknow. So that is about legal reasoning in a nutshell. All questions, 50 out of 50 from legal reasoning. 2, level of difficulty of these questions in comparison with the questions which have appeared in previous CLAT was much lower. Number 3, length of the questions was also shorter in comparison with previous CLAT questions. Now let's move to general knowledge. In the notification, they had very clearly mentioned that general knowledge would be a mixture of current affairs as well as static general knowledge. And the 50 questions which we got to see here, 2 of the questions were based on legal knowledge. One question was on 117th Amendment, and one of the questions was basically a current affair question. I do not know, and in fact, it will fit in both the categories that are current affairs as well as legal general knowledge. So the question was total number of high courts in India. All of us were aware that till very recently there were only 21 high courts in India. So in fact there was an addition of 3 high courts. So the answer would be 24. Apart from these 2 questions, if we look at the remaining 48 questions, I would say majority of them, close to 30 to 32 of them, they were based on current affairs. And there were close to 15 to 16 questions. There were 15 to 16 questions which were on static general knowledge. Now, even within static general knowledge, there were 2 categories. There were static general knowledge questions which were straight away inspired from some current happening. For example, you were asked the year in which the capital of India shifted from Kolkata to Delhi. All of us were aware of that this event celebrated its centenary year very recently. So keeping that in mind, I would want to believe that the very fact that this question was asked stems from this particular centenary year. There are other examples as well. I'm getting a question from Navya. I've attempted 300 questions only. How can you attempt 300 questions only? Since there were only 200 questions, Navya, how could you attempt 300 questions? So would you please rewrite your question? Abhi Gandhi, so my answer to your question is that if you are scoring something in the vicinity of 135, then you stand a very good chance of getting admission in Nalsar. Well, Navya, if you have attempted 130 questions, right, just keep your fingers crossed. You might get admission in one of the lower NLUs, maybe in one of tier 3 NLUs. But in my opinion, your number of attempts could and should have been slightly higher. Navya, strictly going by what I'm getting to read on my screen, my unfortunate answer is a big no. Shubham, whatever questions we have been able to collect thus far, which are based on memory, of course, on the basis of our interaction with the students, we are certainly going to put the answers. Navya, even if you did not get the answer of any of the questions, still I would believe that you have attempted slightly lower number of questions. So I would want to be proved wrong here, and in fact I wish all the best. I would want to be proved wrong. We wish you all the best, but I somehow believe that in order to get into any of tier 1 institute among NLUs, you should have attempted slightly more number of questions. Now, coming back to general knowledge, I said that there were 2 questions which were based on legal knowledge, and out of 48 questions, most of them, majority of them, they were based on current affairs. And in fact, you were asked 2 to 3 questions, in fact 3 questions based on London Olympics, and you were asked 2 to 3 questions on the basis of Ellen Phillip. You're asking me a question, last king of British India. It was King George VI. Gagan, your question is cut off for NLU Kolkata. Since this is in tier 1, so if you are scoring close to 135, a net score of 135, please bear it in mind that they are going to apply negative marking also this year. So if you score in the vicinity of 135, you stand a good chance of getting admission in NLU Kolkata. Gagan, you have attempted 155 questions, is a good attempt, and we wish you all the best. Most probably you should be able to get admission in one of the tier 1 NLUs, provided that majority of your answers are correct. So even if you have made 10 or 12 mistakes, you stand a good chance of getting into even NLSIU. So coming back to our analysis of GK section, there were at least 10 to 15 questions which were deceptively easier. Right? Rather than asking you that who got the recent Bharat Ratna award, they asked you that in which year Bharat Ratna award was introduced. This I would rate as a slightly difficult question to answer. And in fact, there were even the last British emperor of India is also a tricky question to answer. Most of the people who have seen Gateway of India or even India Gate, they believe that King George V was the last British emperor of India. But in fact, it was King George VI, and even in between King George V and King George VI, you had this King Edward, right? So there were many questions which were deceptively easier. Ellen Phillip, would you tell me the option of this question? Yes. Shubham, if someone scores close to 130, 135, if you score something in the range 130 to 134, you definitely stand a very good chance in NLU Lucknow. More than a chance. We're certainly talking about the first list. Shubham, Ellen Phillip, coming back to your question, the center of gravity of Leaning Tower of Pisa, it would be at the base. Deepangshi Allahabad, as a student, I have appeared for more than 200 competitive examinations because this is my passion. And I empathize with all the students who appeared for CLAT 13, which had at least 3 questions in quantitative aptitude, in which none of the options were correct, right? So if many of us we write to CLAT committee about this, the chances are very high that they would not use these 3 questions for evaluation purposes, and most probably you would be evaluated on the basis of your performance on the remaining 197 questions. Or they might award 1 mark for each one of these 3 questions, or maybe a few other erroneous questions which might have appeared in the paper, right? So whether they do the first thing or the second thing, that does not make any difference. There's one and the same thing. All of you are awarded 3 marks for these 3 erroneous questions. That does not make any difference. They might even omit them. But yeah, our sympathies are with you and all the students who appeared for CLAT 13. Mohit, first of all, congratulations. You have attempted 165 questions with only 2 in maths. Good. So if I look at this, and in fact, if accuracy rate, even if that is close to 85 to 90%, you stand a very good chance of getting into NLS IU. Utkarsh, again, and in fact, you can cut, copy, paste the answer which I just gave. If 165 if attempt of 165 is very good, needless to say that 170 is even better. Oh God, then I'm getting to read on my screen that I've attempted 180 questions. So in the case of 180 attempts, even if your accuracy is close to 80%, you will certainly be getting an admit in NLS Bangalore. because most of the people, they're able to hear the thing. Can you hear now? Nishay, can you hear now? Shubham, can you hear? Thanks, Nishay. So, again, sorry for the interruption. So the fact is that we have already discussed general knowledge, we have discussed mathematics, we have already discussed legal section as well. Now let's come to logical reasoning. In comparison with last year, in comparison with CLAT 12, the difficulty level was lower, and one of the reasons for difficulty level being lower is that this year you had more number of questions which were based on mathematical reasoning rather than being based on verbal reasoning. So if you look at this section, of all the questions, Mr. Singh, not only 2, but other 3 questions did not have any of the correct answers among the options. So coming back to logical reasoning, out of the 45 questions which appeared here, 25 questions were based on mathematical reasoning and 15 of them were based on verbal reasoning. And in fact, this is for the first time that as many as 15 questions were based on arrangement of people. So since number of arrangement questions was as high as 15, so it became very simple. It became a very simple section to be attempted. In fact, we have spoken to many students, and a good number of them, they could attempt 40 out of 40 questions there. Even those 5 questions which were based on sequence and series, mostly sequence and series questions, they are not very easy to answer. But here, without any exception, each one of these 5 questions were very simple. So now coming to the last part, English. So overall difficulty level of English, I would say, was from easy to moderate. It was definitely not difficult. It carried the essence of the overall difficulty level of the paper. And even the pattern of the questions was almost a repeat of CLAT 12. You had good number of questions on reading comprehension, 10. Then you had 5 questions based on Latin phrases as well. And in fact, one of the questions where they asked you the meaning of the Latin phrase carte blanche was straight away taken from CLAT 12. Similarly, they asked you another simple question, the meaning of with or with. So overall, we believe that though there are many people, as I said earlier also, there are many people who somehow believe that in order to get into NLS IU, you need to score something in vicinity of 155 or 160, right? To me, that is all fiction. We at LST believe that the cutoff is not going to be higher than 140, 142. So now for rest of the queries, I would hand it over to Shreya, Kole and Amandeep. So over to you, Shreya. Thank you, and I wish each one of you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vijay sir. Very good evening to all the students. I hope that this year's CLAT paper did not pose any difficulty to you guys, and especially after the reaction that I've seen from most of the students who had appeared for this entrance exam, it felt quite happy for the fact that it is in consonance to what the students had expected. So that is really good response. More so, we are very happy for the fact that the LSC material had been of immense help this time. The questions were at par with the LSD materials that had been provided. The mock tests appeared to be very, very helpful here, because the pattern of the mock test appeared to be in consonance, in the lines of the CLAT entrance exam that took place this year. And even the questions, especially the questions in legal reasoning, were definitely at par with the LST material. So that is one thing which we are really happy about, and I hope that all those students who had followed the LST material diligently and had given our mock tests, I'm sure that this paper must have been very easy for you, and I'm sure you guys are going to score good marks. There is one GK question from Shubham Verma that I come across. Shubham, yes, the Bharat Ratna answer is 1954. It's a correct attempt. So very good. Congratulations. You have at least one confirmed answer to you now. So I would request all the other students, in case I believe Mr. Vijay had already given you a sum up of the entire test that had taken place this year, of the entire question paper, of whatever information we could have gathered from the students who had appeared for the entrance exam this year. And now, if you guys have got any questions pertaining to anything which had not been addressed as yet, then you are free to ask the questions in whatever limited time slot that we have got remaining in our hand at this point of time. So in case any student having any further questions, you are ready to put up. The analysis is already given on the basis of your questions that have been recovered, that had been asked to the students. So that is something which is totally on the basis of what the information that we have gathered from the students. So I believe that this year at least the after feel of the exam is really happy for most of you students. Shubham, you have asked me, can you please question based on memory. I'm sorry, Shubham, I'm not being able to understand your question. If you rephrase it, are you trying to say if I remember any of the questions that have been, divulged to us by the students? I am sorry, I don't remember exactly any questions. Rather, answering to questions on the basis of, the information accumulated from students, especially in legal aptitude section, becomes a little difficult. So, any, particular question, until and unless we are sure of the legal principle, is very difficult to be given, which is in fact really easier when it comes to GK, and we are definitely here to solve as many number of GK questions as you can come up with. So that is something we can definitely help you up with concrete answers.
Sorry for interfering all of a sudden, almost forcing myself here. So there are two things. We can answer those 5 questions from legal reasoning, which straight away were copied from CLAT 12. That is thing number 1. Thing number 2, that we have already got close to 35 questions out of the 50 questions which appeared in your general knowledge, and within 60 to 80 minutes from now, you will get to see each one of these 35 to 40 questions along with their correct answers on our website, on the website of lawentrance.com. Thank you.
So as I'm sure, most of the queries by now have been clarified, and like Sir said, that we are definitely going to put up, the questions and the answers as much as possible from what we have gathered from students. We will definitely be putting that up. Nishchay, again, I believe you have put up the question for the wrong questions in maths. Will marks be awarded? Like Mr. Vijay had already clarified, there are two methods to it. One, the marks could be awarded depending upon the number of requests that has been sent to the CLAT committee, or it could be so that they are waiving off those three incorrect answers and giving you the total marks on the basis of the correct questions. By that I mean that they would probably not calculate those three wrong answered questions. I mean the options for which the answers are incorrect. They would probably not consider that into your total marks, and would analyze your question paper answer sheet, on the basis of 197 marks. But that is completely upon the discretion of the CLAT committee. We are not in a position at this point of time to comment on it. So this is something which is there. Okay. So I believe, Nishchay, your doubt pertaining to this is being cleared off. And if there is any other pertinent doubt with regard to any of the sections or any other GK questions that you can see, then please, okay, I have a question over here. Shubham Verma asked, what is the World Literacy Day? Which day is celebrated as the World Literacy Day? The answer is 8th of September, Shubham. If you remember the options, the option pertaining to the answer 8th of September is the correct answer. So I hope that gives you the answer with respect to your question. Okay, Siddhant has a question. Were all the questions in arrangement questions in logical reasoning correct? So I believe Vijay sir would be able to help you out with that.
Very difficult for us to answer this because we could not appear for the paper, sorry, but we haven't heard anything like this thus far. We have spoken to a good number of students and no one complained about this, that there was any problem in these arrangement questions. We haven't heard anything like this. If you feel that no, there was any problem, right? And if you remember the question, so kindly put that down here and we shall get back to you.
Thank you, sir. I hope your question has been answered, Siddhant. The next question is from Shubham Verma, who is asking the GK question with regards to Baglihar Dam. That is with respect to Chenab River in Jammu and Kashmir. So it's Chenab River is going to be your correct answer. So Shubham, if you remember the options, Chenab River is going to be your option. Okay, all right. So again, this is to all the attendees. I hope that all your doubts with respect to the question pattern has already been solved by what Mr. Vijay Jha had already described, and so this is something which I believe has already been catered to. With respect to any further general knowledge questions, students, you are always free to type out your questions for whatever remaining time we have got in hand at this point of time. In case all your questions are answered and you do not have any pertinent questions at this moment, we shall definitely not take more time of yours, and I can completely understand now that you're one of the major entrants is over. I'm sure you guys must be having plans in mind to enjoy your time, to have fun. So definitely we are not going to keep you tied to the computer screens right at this point of time. So I hope this is are there any further questions? This is probably the last time I would be no other questions. Do I call it off? Okay, Shubham is saying, when can we expect the answer keys of the 35 GK questions, as it has been All right. So Shubham, this is in another 90 minutes time. All right. Within a span of around 1.5 hours, you are definitely getting the answers along with the questions put up in the lawentrance.com. So please have a look at this particular website, lawentrance.com. Keep on visiting lawentrance.com. Within another 1.5 hours. Prajoy, this is with regards to the CLAT results dates that you have asked. The CLAT website has mentioned 31st to be the date. Here again, Vijay sir has got. No, you don't want to. 31st of May is the date that has been put up by the CLAT website to be the dates on which the results are expected. So, Prajoy, please keep visiting CLAT website for updated news. This is a question again from Shubham Verma. State pair boundary touch. I'm sorry, Shubham, you will have to update me with the question a little bit more. So, Shubham, if you could please again rephrase the question. All right, okay. Your question is which state touches the boundary of UP and Chhattisgarh? This is your question, I believe, Shubham. Shubham, for that, the answer is going to be MP. So I hope you guys, with respect to the general knowledge section, please keep a tab on the lawentrance.com website, wherein we are going to put up the answers in a time frame of around 1.5 hours. So I hope you guys are pretty satisfied and happy for the fact that this year question paper was really easy, and you guys could deal with as many number of questions possible. All the best to all you guys, and we are definitely waiting for your results, which are to be put up on 31st of May tentatively as yet. So all the very best to all of you, and we hope that you guys are definitely, all LSTians are definitely going to come out with flying colors. So all the best. We are going to end with this session over here. So keep preparing for the remaining entrances that you have got. But before you start preparing again, please take your time to rest and have fun. So all the best to all you attendees. Do well for the remaining entrance examinations, and all the very best for your results of NLU Delhi as well as CLAT. Thanks for attending this particular webinar, and of course for further updates, please keep on visiting lawentrance.com website as well as keep a tab on the CLAT website.